So back in 2004, something truly bizarre happened off the coast of San Diego. You had the USS Nimitz, the most advanced naval carrier group in the world, and it came face to face with an object that just completely shattered our understanding of physics. And we're not talking about a weird light in the sky. No, this was a solid craft, tracked on multiple state-of-the-art sensors and seen up close by some of the best fighter pilots on the planet. And you gotta remember who we're talking about here. This wasn't some guy in his backyard with a camcorder. This was Commander David Fravor, the commanding officer of an FA-18 squadron. He described this thing as a perfectly smooth Tic Tac. No wings, no exhaust, no seams, nothing. It just hovered there, then pulled off maneuvers that would tear any known aircraft, and the pilot inside, to absolute shreds. So naturally, where does your mind go? Aliens, right? I mean, when you see technology that seems centuries, maybe even millennia ahead of anything we've got, you start looking up at the stars. It's kind of the default explanation, and it's been dominating this conversation for, well, forever. But what if the answer isn't out there at all? What if the actual blueprints for this impossible machine have been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Filed, logged, and stamped by the US government itself. Well, our source materials says that's exactly what's happened. And just like that, this stops being a UFO story and turns into a full-blown forensic investigation. Okay, so where do we even begin to look? The central argument here is that the real proof isn't some blurry photo or a shaky video. Nope. It's in black and white in a series of public, verifiable government documents that basically lay out the roadmap for a technological revolution. The source calls this whole theory the Gnostic Indictment. The core idea is that these patents, filed by the US Navy of all places, aren't just a bunch of pie-in-the-sky ideas. They're actually a form of soft disclosure, a deliberate leak of the real-world physics that powers a top-secret program, hidden in the one place nobody would ever bother to look, the Patent Office. And if you follow this paper trail, one name just keeps popping up over and over again: Dr. Salvatore Pais. He was a Navy aerospace engineer, and between 2016 and 2019, he filed a whole string of mind-blowing patents that, when you put them all together, look a lot like a recipe for building something just like the Tic Tac. And here it is, Exhibit A. This is the big one, the crown jewel. A patent for a craft using an inertial mass reduction device. What does that mean? Well, it describes using incredibly powerful electromagnetic fields to create a sort of vacuum bubble around the craft, which literally reduces its mass. Let's just call it what it is. It's a blueprint for an anti-gravity engine. All right, so if that's the engine, what about the rest of it? How does this thing pull off all its other impossible tricks? Let's keep following the paper trail, starting with its most famous party trick: how it just vanishes into thin air. I mean, seriously, just try to wrap your head around the engineering problems here. It's totally smooth, but it can turn on a dime. It has no engine you can see, but it moves at unbelievable speeds. And the real kicker, it can make itself completely invisible to the Aegis combat system, one of the most sophisticated radar networks on Earth. How is that even possible? This chart really shows you the quantum leap we're talking about. The stealth that we all know, from the F-117 Nighthawk bomber, that's passive stuff. It's basically just clever angles and some special radar-absorbing paint from the 1970s. But the tech we're talking about here is active. The skin of the craft isn't just a coating, it's a dynamic, intelligent system that reacts to its environment in real time. And the secret ingredient that makes this all possible is something called a metamaterial. Now, this isn't something you dig out of the ground. It's a synthetic material, engineered at the microscopic level to do things that are basically impossible in the natural world, specifically to grab electromagnetic waves like light and radar and bend them to its will. And believe me, this isn't science fiction. Here's a patent from 2012 assigned to Duke University with a ton of funding from DARPA, describing this exact thing: a tunable metamaterial apparatus. In other words, a smart skin that can literally change its physical properties on command. So how does this invisibility cloak actually work? Okay, so step 1, the craft's AI gets a ping from an incoming radar wave. Step 2, it instantly zaps its own skin with a very precise electrical charge. And step 3, that voltage tunes the metamaterial skin, turning it into the perfect sponge for that exact radar frequency. The radar wave hits, gets completely swallowed up, and nothing bounces back. On the radar screen, the Tic Tac just winks out of existence. So becoming invisible is one thing. That's already pretty wild. But the Tic Tac also showed it could operate in places where all of our own technology goes completely blind, like deep underwater. And this is a huge problem, right? A real catch-22. To move that fast through water, the craft supposedly wraps itself in a plasma bubble to reduce drag. But that bubble is also a perfect Faraday cage, which means it blocks all signals from getting in or out. No GPS, no radar, no sonar. It would be flying completely, utterly blind. So how does it do it? Well, the answer is it's just mind-bending. The source says it doesn't use waves or signals at all. It navigates by feeling. It uses these incredibly sensitive quantum sensors to detect tiny microscopic shifts in the Earth's gravitational field caused by, say, an underwater mountain range or the seafloor itself. It literally feels its way through the darkness. And sure enough, this technology isn't just some theory. You can go look up the patents yourself. Major defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems have filed patents for these exact kinds of quantum gravity sensors, specifically for navigating in what they call GPS-denied environments. Okay, what about talking to it? If no radio waves can get through that plasma bubble, how do you send it commands? The source points to quantum entanglement. You link a set of particles on the drone to another set back at headquarters. They become an unbreakable tether. You change one particle, and its partner changes instantly, no matter how far apart they are. It's like instant messaging that works straight through solid rock and miles of ocean. So let's recap. We have a craft that can go anywhere, through water, air, or space, and do it all while being completely invisible. So you have to ask yourself, why? What is the purpose of a machine like this? If it can feel gravity, what else can it sense? This is where the paper trail leads us to the mission. And this is where it gets really dark. The source alleges that this incredible capability is all part of a top-secret program with the codename Project Murmur, and its purpose is nothing less than the ultimate form of surveillance. The key piece of tech is a sensor with a ridiculously long name, a surf atomic magnetometer. But here's all you need to know about it. It is so unbelievably sensitive that it can detect the tiny femtotesla-level magnetic field generated by a single living human heartbeat from miles away at high altitude. It's like being able to hear one specific pin drop in the middle of a hurricane. So here's the alleged playbook for how a platform like the Tic Tac would hunt a target. First, it sweeps an area, just sucking up a flood of magnetic data. Then, a powerful AI gets to work filtering out all the background noise, the Earth's magnetic field, solar flares, everything. Step 3, it discriminates. The AI, trained on biometric databases, can tell the difference between the magnetic signature of a human heart and, say, a deer. And finally, step 4, it gets a lock, triangulating the target's exact position, even if they're hiding in a subway tunnel or a concrete bunker. The source material really sums up the implication here with a quote that's, well, it's pretty chilling. It says, this is a total shift away from traditional surveillance. They're not looking at your face or listening to your voice anymore. They're listening for the very signature of life itself. And that's really where this whole paper trail ends. It leaves us with a terrifying question. We all spend so much time worrying about facial recognition or our digital footprint online. But what happens when the technology can find you not by what you do or what you look like, but simply by the fact that you are alive? If a system can find any person, anywhere on Earth, just by listening for their heartbeat, what does it even mean to hide? In a world like that, what is privacy?